Good morning, everybody. This is our 2025 annual Wildfire Preparedness briefing. Each year in spring, we do the assessment for the coming fire season. Of course, keeping in mind that fire season is year-round. We need no more reminder of that than the most destructive fire in the history of the state, December Marshall Fire. This event is an opportunity to assess the wildfire outlook, make sure that Colorado is at its peak fire readiness. We have similar working meetings throughout the year. We have many representatives of the federal government, of our state, that are all here because truly fire prevention, fire mitigation, firefighting, incident response, and is really a shared responsibility that we have. So we have representatives of the county sheriffs, the fire districts, our Department of Natural Resources, our federal partners. And it's worth highlighting that our partnerships are critical to our success, and those include formal partnerships that we have, like shared stewardship, Good Neighbor Authority, Fire Guard, and how important the BLM and Forest Service are, the importance of AmeriCorps staffing. We'll have 500 AmeriCorps folks this summer out doing important forest treatment, suppression, recovery actions. We're not sure of the status of that, but as of now, they are ready to go and be deployed. I want to thank everybody whose hard work and dedication keeps Colorado safer, including you'll be hearing from Stan Hilke, our head of public safety. You'll be hearing from Mike Morgan, fire chief, Matt McCombs, Colorado State Forest Director, and then we also have Doug Vilsack and Troy Heithiker here from respectively the Bureau of Land Management and the U.S. Forest Service. As you will hear, the fire risk for this summer across much of our state is average. There's a heightened risk in the short term in April and May in southeast Colorado. Later in summer, that shifts to an elevated risk in southwest Colorado for the summer. But much of Colorado will have a average fire season, which of course means that there can be, likely will be, incidents that we will be ready to respond to, with a heightened awareness on the southeast over the next month or two, and then the southwest later in the summer. We are seeing destructive fires reach major population centers, of course the Marshall Fire here, but we also saw the devastating fires in Los Angeles. And today it's more of a question of when, not if, a fire will affect our communities. And that's why we're hard at work upping the bar on fire preparedness at the state level. That includes working to prevent fires from starting in the first place with forest health and fire mitigation work, expanding our arsenal of firefighting tools and intel, stopping small sparks from becoming large wildfires. Tools include surveillance, both satellite surveillance, electrical line video, a lot of other new and improved forms of surveillance to be able to attack fires quicker before they get out of control. We've also, as a state, made historic investments in state firefighting resources, including multiple state-owned helicopters like the Firehawk and multi-mission fixed-wing aircraft, fire engines and crews, contracted air tankers that allow us to quickly respond to fires across the state rather than wait for resources that are shared among multiple states. And on the fire risk map, we see that many of our neighboring states have elevated risk. And of course, the situation we're always worried about is if those out-of-state resources are not available, we need to make sure to have our own. Much of New Mexico and Arizona, as well as large parts of Texas, have an elevated risk this fire season. We've also created a statewide dispatch system to help first responders locally order resources quickly and effectively with shorter response time. I recently signed an executive order to make sure that all of Colorado state employees that serve as volunteer firefighters and first responders get leave. And I encourage and continue to encourage our private sector employers to do the same, to make sure that when they are needed, their employees are able to take leave to be able to participate in as firefighters and first responders. I'm proud to proclaim May as Wildfire Awareness Month and continue to support the Live Wildfire Ready outreach campaign. And there's a lot of things we need to do, everything from checking the areas close to homes and buildings, roof decks and gutters for materials that serve as fuel, obviously taking down fuel near homes, community level mitigation, removing the risk from spreading to communities. And of course, we continue to work closely with our federal partners. As a result of increased fire risk and also increased hail risk, we've seen homeowners insurance rates driven up. That's something many Coloradans have experienced firsthand. We do know that fire mitigation work is one of the key ways that we can reduce fire risk, which will lead to direct savings in homeowners insurance for individuals. Separately, hail, we look at hail-resistant roof that doesn't require replacement. On a local level, fire mitigation makes a real difference by reducing the amount of fuel for fires, protecting our land, our homes, and our communities. And we're focusing on empowering property owners and community levels, everything from the HOA to towns to counties, to know that their risk is rated for homeowners insurance and the steps that they can and should take to lower their risk and therefore lower the cost to homeowners in the area. These are the few of the steps we're taking because we never know when or where the next wildfire will happen. We know it will happen. We don't know when or where. As we continue to push forward and lead the charge to prepare, prevent, and respond to wildfires across the state of Colorado. With that, I will turn it over to the Executive Director of Colorado's Department of Public Safety, Stan Hilke.
Good morning, and thank you for being here today. We appreciate it. I want to make sure that everybody takes advantage of the opportunity to speak with the people that have booths here today. There's a lot of important work that's being done in this space that we want you to be familiar with as well. The state and our partners are pleased to say that we're ready for this fire season. It's often said during times of crisis or times of need, you call your friends. The people that are up here and the people that are in this room are our friends, and the partnerships are strong. That's going to be the thing that continues to see us through. I also want to say that the Department of Public Safety, while it has a fire division and the Division of Fire Prevention and Control, we have the Emergency Management Division, Colorado State Patrol, and other divisions. It seems like whenever there is a big fire in Colorado, we put the resources of the department towards the problem, and that can be from state troopers helping us get our eyes on something at the very beginning and working the roadblocks and helping do evacuations, to, of course, direct action by the Division of Fire Prevention and Control, and then also in the Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, the work that we do with the State Emergency Operations Center and Consequence Management. All across the Department of Public Safety, we get engaged in this challenge. The national structure for combating wildfires is cooperative interagency system. It involves all levels of government, federal, state, and local, and all things start local and they usually end local, so we want to make sure that we're supporting the locals. They're the local fire departments are usually the ones that are making the biggest difference, and we're here to support them as well. These efforts aim to reduce wildfire risk. We can't control things like weather, snowpack, and fuel conditions, though, and as you heard the governor talk about, this spring fire outlook is normal for most of the state. I want to be cautious about what I mean by normal. That means that we've had fires, and we're going to continue to have fires. We expect to have fires this year. Some will get big, and we're going to be busy, and that's what a normal looks like for Colorado anymore. This simply means we just can't expect roughly the same number of fires that we've had in the past, and we'll be ready for those as well, but we do not anticipate anything other than a busy year. Wind events are expected to drive much of our fire activity. As the governor mentioned, the Marshall Fire was a wind event, and the wind events continue to cause a lot of concern, and we know that people in Colorado start to get anxiety when the wind blows, and we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to warn the public about wind events and taking the extra precautions during those times as well. Individual preparedness and personal responsibility are key to protecting the safety of people, homes, and personnel and their communities. On average, across the country, human-caused wildfires make up 90% of all wildfire occurrences every year. We can't stress that enough. Most of these fires can be prevented. Take extra precautions before venturing out and be careful with anything that might be able to start a fire. We want you to take steps now to ensure that you're ready for a fire event, which means signing up for the local alerts. Most of you and all of us in some form or another live in counties that have alert programs. I would encourage you all to be part of that as well, and have a plan in the event that you need to evacuate. Make sure that you know what you're going to need to take, when to take it, when to gather it, how to gather it, and when to leave. And if you feel unsafe, we want to tell people, if you're in a situation that you feel unsafe, and a fire is near you, don't wait for the evacuation order. If you want to leave, we encourage you to do that. When fires do occur, we want you to respect the local public safety closures that will happen there, and evacuation notices. Monitor the local news channels, the social media channels that we push out, and follow the emergency services for all the updates about the fire and the things that are going on around you. Our motto at the Department of Public Safety is that we're safer together, and we feel like that when we work together with you and with the media and with the awareness across the state, we can make Colorado a continued safe place to be, and we appreciate you being here today. And I'm going to turn it over to our Division of Fire Prevention Control Chief, Mike Morgan. Thanks. Sorry, Mike.
Thanks, Director. Colorado is truly a national leader in this space and in this environment. And as the governor was speaking, it just made me think of some of the things, the work that these people that are here with us today do behind the scenes. The last 2 days, we've had about 25 different scientists and doctors, in the craft, evaluating both the East Troublesome Fire and the Marshall Fire. For when those events turn into conflagrations, and what are the sciences and the tools and the resources that we can apply to prevent that or reduce the likelihood of those things happening in the future. And at the end of the day, all of these decisions and all of the work that's being done here is for you as citizens and the visitors of Colorado, and all of you fine people in the back of the room that risk your life every day to go out there and keep our communities safe. So I just wanted to add that in, that we're very pleased with the work that's going on. There's a lot of other things. I encourage, as Director Hilke said, to look at the things here, catch some of these folks behind us, and talk about the additional work that's going on that we won't hit on today. Historically, we've looked at fire seasons as about a 4-month period in the time of year. We know now that is not it. As the governor said, we have a fire year. We've had major fires and disasters in every month of the year in the state of Colorado, and we can't afford to let our guard down. 20 of the 20 largest fires in Colorado's history have occurred in the last 20 years. 4 of the 5 largest fires in Colorado's history happened in 2018 and 2020. Drought conditions, hazardous fuels, fuel accumulations, forest health, fast-moving fires are devastating our communities, and we must work harder to reduce that risk and that threat. DFPC, along with our partners, has continued to develop and fine-tune a strategy that allows us to be prepared for year-round and more for these destructive wildfires, shifting the resources to a year-round model versus the seasonal model of the past. The Wildfire Preparedness Plan is part of a comprehensive year-round approach to wildfire management. It includes mitigation activities, fuels and forest management, fire suppression, and response. The plan is based upon lessons learned from previous years and also implements new tools, capabilities, and technologies that were provided to us by our industry partners, as well as the Colorado Fire Commission, and supported by the governor and the General Assembly. And we can't say how much we appreciate that. Our current forecast, has been said, predicts a normal fire season for much of the state. I do want to remind everybody in this room that in a normal fire season, we will see approximately 6,000 wildfires across the state of Colorado and burn about 150, 160,000 acres. So when we say normal, please, and as Director Hilke said and the governor said, don't let your guard down. We will have fires. We will have big fires. As was also mentioned, southeast Colorado, early on, pre-green up, Los Animas County, Baca County, down in those areas, we anticipate some challenges in the coming months. San Luis Valley and southwest Colorado through the summer will continue with drought conditions, and we're hoping for monsoonal moistures as we get out past the 120-day forecast. It becomes a little more difficult to predict with accuracy, so we'll be monitoring that on a regular basis. And actually, we're also very proud to say that we have a group of an intelligence office now within our division who is monitoring those conditions on a regular basis to help us with that decision-making process. DFPC resources are ready to respond. Our mission as the Division of Fire Prevention and Control is to support our local fire departments and our sheriffs as these fires evolve. And we work very closely with our BLM and USDA, U.S. Forest Service partners, to do everything we can to be there for our communities. This happens on a daily basis during the summer months. Most of the fires are quickly extinguished, and most of you will never even know about them, and that's when our systems work right. But as Director Hilke said, undoubtedly we will have wind events, we will have things happen that create large fires, and we will be ready to support those as well. We have 2 Type 2 helicopters. We have one Type 1 helicopter, Firehawk. We have a second Firehawk helicopter scheduled to be delivered on August 12th. We have 2 Pilatus, and you'll be able to see, of course, the Firehawk out here. The Pilatus PC-12, which is our multi-mission aircraft. Those are our intelligence aircraft. There's one of those out there you'll be able to take a look at up close and personal, and how we're leveraging technologies to provide enhanced safety to our firefighters and to our communities, as well as that early detection, aggressive initial attack for unwanted fires. I'll talk about wanted fires later briefly. But we also have an exclusive use contract for a large air tanker. We have 7 engines, 6 modules, and a total of about 170 firefighters across the state to support our local governments in protecting our communities. We provide resources to counties and fire departments in the early stages of an incident so that quick, effective initial attack actions can be taken. We do that through a program we call Enhanced State Assistance, so that we make operational decisions based upon operational and tactical needs, and not about the concerns of the costs associated with requesting these resources that are so often desperately needed. We are proud to say that Colorado, to my knowledge, still is the only state in the nation that has negotiated and worked through with our federal partners to have the closest available resource strategies, that it doesn't matter if it's one of their assets or one of our assets. We send the closest one to support our local government partners, and we do that free of charge. We'll sort out everything else afterwards so that those first arriving fire officers can make decisions based, again, on tactical need, not on fear of spending more money than they can afford to make sales and pay for. So our approach to these: an early detection, rapid initial attack to limit that fire size, reduce the duration of an event, and therefore reduce the impact of the event. I'm also excited to announce, as I've kind of mentioned, I'd speak to wanted fire. We know fire is also part of a tool on the landscape, part of the ecosystem, and something that we very much need under right time, right place, right conditions, and with the right resources criteria. Working with the Colorado Fire Commission led the charge, working with our partners at Colorado State Forest Service, Department of Natural Resources. We have implemented a statewide strategy for prescribed fire on non-federal lands, so state and local lands, to allow us to be doing more of that work in, as I said, a right time, right place, right condition, and right resources manner. This is one of the very proactive steps that we're trying to take to protect our communities while still doing the things we need to do to reduce long-term fire risk and hazard. So obviously, fire is a concern to all of you and all of our communities across the state. We all need to do our part to be a part of the solution. We're calling on everybody that lives, works, and plays in Colorado to help reduce the risk of fires. As Director Hilke said, about 90% of these are started by some human inaction or lack of action that creates these fires, and we need all of you to do your part to keep that from happening, as well as being prepared to live with fire in Colorado, because inevitably fires will occur. So with that, I will turn it over to my good friend, Director Matt McCollum from Colorado State Forest Service.
Thank you, Chief Morgan. So the Colorado State Forest Service is Colorado's lead state forestry agency. One of our primary duties, in addition to forest health and watershed health, is to help Coloradans reduce wildfire risk to their lives, homes, property, and communities. Coloradans continue to learn to live with wildland fire. We all know, and as Chief Morgan just described, wildfire is a critical part of our ecosystem's ability to sustain itself and maintain health. But with drought and warmer temperatures, the increasing wildfire risk, and while at the same time more people are moving into wildfire-prone areas. So you have those in combination. The higher propensity for extreme wildfire and folks moving into those areas when those wildfires occur, we know that we have a lot more work to do as it relates to mitigation. But the good news is we know that mitigation works. So where we put these treatments in place, and where we change and augment the nature of the forest in ways that allow it to receive fire and resist fire, give our firefighters a fighting chance to do safely the suppression activities that protect homes, that protect the values that we all cherish so much. We have lots of examples throughout the state where homes and neighborhoods have been protected from wildfire, in particular because of the wildfire mitigation work that was done. A good example of this is in July of last year, an abandoned campfire sparked a Welleting fire near Breckenridge, threatening nearby homes, including Executive Director Dan Gibbs. It just related that to us in our briefing here earlier. But thanks in part to the work done prior, we were able to keep that fire to an acre and protect those homes. And these examples we need to continue to share to incentivize communities all the way down to the individual to do the home hardening and put the defensible space in place, to work with your HOA, to work with your local town council or city council to incentivize continued investments to create this risk reduction posture that allows us to effectively manage fire when it occurs in the right place and to suppress fire to protect valuable resources of the communities that we so much love. The beautiful thing about this is that Colorado's investments have been consistent and ever growing as the risk continues to grow. The Colorado State Forest Service and the Department of Natural Resources just this year invested $15 million to communities to reduce wildfire risk. And under the Polis administration, over $150 million has been invested, making huge differences all across the state. In addition, the State Forest Service has leaned hard into helping communities all across the state to update or establish their community wildfire protection plan, which gives everybody a clear sense of where the values of risk exist and what can we do to reduce that risk and be prepared when wildfire comes. In addition, we continue to champion the Firewise USA program, which allows communities, again, to come together, put a plan together, invest resources, and continue to move themselves forward as we continue to face down the ever-growing risk. And as the governor mentioned, we continue to promote the Live Wildfire Ready campaign. It's another way to continue to encourage Coloradans to be aware, know their risk, use the tools that are available to them, and then take action. That's the most important part. Once you know your risk, you need to translate that to action on the ground, again, either at your home or in alliance with your community. And again, to echo Chief Morgan, we cannot let our guard down. It's easy with the complexity in all of our individual lives and the things that we face down every day to lose sight of the traumatic impacts and the lasting impacts of the 2020 fire season. We know that the potential for mega fire exists, and it will exist, and we have to keep moving forward as a state. We have to keep moving forward as communities, and we need to keep moving forward as individuals to ensure that we use the best available science to reduce the wildfire risk while also finding ways through those actions to continue to allow fire to reestablish itself in the ways that are meaningful and help keep our forests healthy and our watersheds productive. Thank you, and I'll turn it back over to the governor.
Thank you, Matt. Questions from the press? Yes.
So we're hearing from our city and county people in southern Colorado that there's concern that out of Washington there won't be as much federal funding. Are we considering changing up strategies here just in case that there's not as much federal support?
Well, I want to have our federal partners speak to that, and I'm happy to respond from the state side. We have Troy Heithaker and Doug Vilsack, and you want to talk about the federal side? Identify your agency.
Sure. Doug Vilsack, I'm the State Director of Bureau of Land Management. We're confident in our firefighting capability for this summer. We are obviously managing through a transition, but for example, we have hired 54 of our seasonals so far for this summer. Generally, I think last year we had 58. So we are confident in our core capability. There have been impacts in terms of funding when it comes to kind of ancillary programs related to firefighting. For example, our recreation program doesn't have the staffing that it once had, but I think the point of this conversation today is that we have a great network here in the state, and we can turn to our friends at the state, Colorado Parks and Wildlife, others who are boots on the ground to help us address some of those issues.
Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, I'll also add to that, just to answer your question, should we consider changing up our strategy? One of the things that's important to remember in the Division of Fire Prevention Control and Public Safety is we feel like we have changed that strategy in the last several years in the capacity that we have built within the state. This Air Force that you see on the tarmac, that's just a part of what exists because we have sort of made the effort to try to take our fate back. We have great federal partnerships that couldn't really exist without them, but also we have endeavored to make sure that we have the capacity to respond without having to rely on shared resources with all the other states that are under fire. So we have shifted that strategy, but we did it several years back and continue to do it to just make sure that we have the response capacity that we need. Thank you.
I've got one. You mentioned AmeriCorps.
Yeah.
What jobs are they expected to do if we retain that?
Yeah, there's a lot, and I'll have a few agencies that they work with speak to that. We don't have someone here from AmeriCorps, but we do have an estimated over 500 AmeriCorps Service Corps folks that are working in fire risk reduction. You want to give examples of a couple of the projects they do?
Dan is right there.
Yeah, Dan, you want to give a couple examples of the work they do?
Yeah, the youth corps around the state do a variety of different services. This year, through assistance through the Colorado Strategic Wildfire Action Program, COSWAP, we've granted out $1 million for wildfire mitigation / red card certification. So those folks can be on the ground, they could respond to fighting fires, but they can also do proactive work with defensible space, with creating fire breaks around communities. So they do a tremendous amount of work around the state to help our communities become more resilient.
What was your name?
Dan Gibbs, the Executive Director of the Department of Natural Resources.
And I can say in prior summers, I've been out with them as they used chainsaws to take down trees, those kinds of activities to build defense perimeters around communities. Yes?
Regarding the staffing, is anybody able or willing to talk about Forest Service cuts? That's a number that's been unclear to us. Cuts, and also if they are hiring seasonally, and about what that, I'm just curious what that number looks like.
Yeah, Troy, whatever you have on that.
Yeah, I think similar to what Doug said.
Just identify yourself.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Troy Hythaker, Regional Forester with the Rocky Mountain Region USDA Forest Service. Yeah, to Doug's point too, we're in the same position. We're expected to have the same number of firefighters here. We're around 560 now and have a hiring event going on now. We expect to get another 220, get our normal number of 761. So that's typical for us. In terms of cuts, fire and law enforcement have been exempt, and we haven't really seen any. And so we're feeling pretty good, as good as we can, relying on our partners into this year.
So anticipating normal numbers for your staff.
Yes, in fire and law enforcement, yep. Yeah.
The Rocky Mountain region, how many states is that those 700 or so cover?
700, it's, what are the numbers here? I think we have 760 available through the regions, 5 states, and primary footprint being in Colorado, Wyoming.
Follow-up question to that. So I know there aren't cuts to like firefighting staff and law enforcement, but there are cuts to folks who are sort of boots on the ground interacting with visitors. Are you guys worried about cuts to those staff members who do a lot of the prevention and education that help people not start forest fires?
A little bit. I would say that Colorado, as has been mentioned, has some of the best partnerships in the country. And so where we're not able to do that work, we've been relying on counties and some of the NGOs and others to do that, and they've been stepping up, and I feel like we're going to be okay. Yeah, thanks.
So, I mean, I think, and maybe we could have our sheriff speak too, but I think if they're not able to, for instance, let's say there's a fire ban in a county and we don't have the federal ability to help with that on federal land, it might mean you can talk to it, how sheriffs will reprioritize that or do that if we don't have the same level of federal assistance.
Good afternoon, everyone. Brett Schrotlin. I'm the sheriff in Grand County, representing County Sheriffs of Colorado. So sheriffs and our deputies are boots on the ground. We're the ones that are integrated within our local communities. We're hearing what's happened in the communities. Our people are monitoring the conditions, reporting those conditions up to our federal partners, our state partners. But our deputies are out every day looking at conditions. We have fire management officers along with our fire departments that take those tasks. And it's just part of their standard fundamental duties that they do every day. And we'll continue to do those and support our partners where we can to fill any gaps that they have.
Yeah, Mike, please.
Just to provide some, obviously this wildfire system and all of the things that we do is very interagency driven, that there isn't any single agency that has enough capacity to do any of this on our own. And so we all have what I will call our strengths and weaknesses as to what we bring it to the table. and how we coordinate that. As our representatives from the Forest Service, Troy and Doug and BLM have both said, they're anticipating being at their normal staffing at the firefighter level, 760 for the U.S. Forest Service across Region 2. I want to also kind of point out there that if you look at the numbers of staffing for firefighters nationally, is that, and this is on a normal year, at any given normal time, there's approximately 18,000 federal wildland firefighters in the United States of America. There's approximately 1.1 million firefighters at the state and local level. The true boots on the ground assets for firefighting efforts are local governments. And that's where when I say we build our programs, whether it's the intelligence, the enhanced state assistance, the aviation, our modules, our engine programs, are all designed to complement the work that's being done at the local level. That's what it's all about. We have obviously the resources we rely upon from our federal partners that, as Director Hilke has talked about, we are very coordinated with how we do that. And Colorado, again, I'm very proud to say that Colorado is a national leader in the way we do that and approach it. So while I think there's a lot of things, there's a lot of confusion and a lot of questions about what all's really going on, I wanted to be just very clear that the numbers of firefighters at the local level are, when we have 1,000 firefighters on the ground in the state of Colorado fighting a fire, the lion's share of those are coming from the folks that are represented up here. And we coordinate that through an interagency system. So.
Yes.
There's been some concern from counties about sending our resources out of state to help, something I know Colorado is proud of doing with potential changing staffing at the federal level. Do you support being a little more conservative on sending out help this year? Do you anticipate no changes to that?
We always monitor that in real time, and we were proud that for the LA fires, we were able to send some assistance. Mike, do you want to talk about some of the criteria you look at when those requests come in?
Sure. As I mentioned, this is an interagency system, and if you look across the nation, right now, if we look at New Jersey, what's happening over there, the amount of resources that we shift. So I don't see a huge change in the shift of how we do that. Again, because we know, as the governor said, right now, New Mexico, Texas, Arizona, we're going to be shifted. We send resources to support them. Now, will we always, as in Colorado, and the way we've built our system is designed to protect the state of Colorado first and foremost. And so when Director Hilke says we took some of our own fate into our own hands, we didn't want to compete for helicopters, for large air tankers, for single engine air tankers, for intelligence aircraft. We didn't want to compete with all of the other, like last year when we had most of the nation at PL5, where everything was in, which is the highest preparedness level, and we have many of the resources that are national assets are moved to Oregon, California, Washington, those types of places. We have the ability in Colorado to say we're keeping our resources home, while at the same time, when conditions allow, we want to be a good neighbor because we rely on them to come be a good neighbor to us when we're at PL5 and they're at PL3 or PL2. So I also want to be very clear that the decision to send Chief White up here, the decision for him to send a fire truck out to support another state or organization, that is Chief White's decision. That is his apparatus. We work very closely with those partners, and we're actually having a lot of conversations about drawdown and standards of cover that really are not new they're refreshing conversations in Colorado because we're having that, because as we see more and more of the country, getting drawdown, and Chief White has the exact same concerns over his district in Grand County as I do for the four borders of the state of Colorado. So let's protect that first, and when we can be a good neighbor, we should continue to do that.
We're the beneficiaries of this. If you look at the summer of 2020, the 3 largest wildfires in the history of our state, we had crews from all over that came to help, and frankly, there would have been a lot more damage, and it would have taken even longer to control those fires had we not had that level of assistance. Yes?
Some homeowners who are trying mitigation or home hardening are still getting dropped by their insurers. What is the state doing either at the legislative level or at the DOI level to try to address that?
Yeah, so we're working currently on two bills specifically around this, which hopefully will be able to reach my desk, that will increase access to homeowners insurance for people who live in the wildland-urban interface. And what we're really trying to do is more directly connect the mitigation work you do with reduced premiums. And so in addition to the reinsurance, in addition to the hail-proof roof work we're doing, we really want to better connect those dots so people will recognize the savings from the work they do, both at the home level and at the community level. Oh, was there one more? Yes.
As far as the forestry service jobs that were cut a bit earlier in the year, all those jobs are the state.
Do we know if there were jobs that were cut and restored, or?
We had a number of probationary employees impacted. All those are back to work at this point in time. So right now, we're looking at staffing shortages that are mainly the result of retirements.
So we, again, from our state perspective, we don't exactly know, and I don't think the folks at our federal side know exactly what will happen and which positions will be eliminated. We are grateful that thus far the law enforcement firefighting positions have been exempt from cuts, but a lot of positions that support those, the folks who might ticket people doing illegal fires, for example, folks doing road work and maintenance, those are some of the areas that have been subject to the cutbacks. Yes.
Before we close today, I know the governor was about ready to do that. I just want to encourage the media that's here to turn those cameras backwards and look at who's standing behind you in the room. The people in uniform out there are the ones that are really doing this work. They're the ones that are putting it on the line. They're the ones that are out there in the smoke and the flame, and we want to make sure that you recognize them, because it's our job to support them. They're the ones that provide the service. They're the ones that are doing the work with the chief here, the fire chief, the locals, the sheriff. Turn those cameras around. Those are the people that we really need to see. Thank you all for what you do.
Thank you, everyone.